My name is Shreya Das, and I'm going to be talking about my website design. So I'll start off with going through my HTML. So I'm going to go onto the index HTML, which will pull up the home page. So let's go through it. So this is my website. My main focus was to make a website that had the relevant information for people to have when buying a new product from the uniform pool, and I also wanted to make sure that there was a place where you could see different things that are available, because these kind of functionalities aren't actually available at the moment. So I wanted to make a website that actually displays all of this stuff in a nice and a neat way. So I have this homepage right here. This is the landing page, which would come up when you would press, when you would first go into the link. So here on my homepage, I just wanted it to be really inviting. So I have the hero image, the side panel with some welcome messages, a nice navigation bar at the top, and a footer at the bottom. One of the things that I really wanted to make sure that I did was have a way for users and customers to contact the people that they need to. So a way that I've done this is I've actually linked all of the phone numbers and emails and the social media stuff. So if you press a phone number, this one or that one, you can make a call through FaceTime. With this one for the email, you can actually send an email to the people. And then with the Facebook link, you can just go onto the Facebook page as so. And also with the Instagram page, you can go onto the Instagram like so. So then what will happen is you would come to this page right here. I'll just go through the different pages right now. So on the rules page at the moment, I don't actually have any content displaying. I just have what the layout would look like, because I'm not actually sure what the school uniform rules are. But what I've ensured to do is that if I go onto my rules page, right here, you can input some text and you can display the text if needed be. So in the future, when I do find out those rules, I will put them on here to display. So another thing I did was, if we go onto the contact page, it's kind of the same idea. I have the box of the text box that doesn't really have anything in it, because I'm not really sure about those details at the moment. A lot of them are changing constantly, but it is what's displaying right now. On the side, I have an Airtable form. So with Airtable, you can make a form, and the Airtable is like a type of database that actually, whatever input that the user puts here will then go onto a database. So right here, I have the contact form. I've got three forms in my entire website, so I'll just go through this one because this one just shows how it works. So if we go here, let's say it's your first name, you can just, I'll call myself Shreya, and then I'll put my last name in, Das, and let's say I'll put my email in, shreyadas@shcs.school.nz. I'll put a random phone number in, and I'll put no message in. And so what I'll do is I'll just send it. Now, one thing about Airtable is that if you make a field required, it will come up with an error message if there's no input inside of it. So this, at the moment, since here in the message field, it's a required field, but there's nothing in it, and it's asking me to put a message in. So I'll just say, I want a new blazer. When you press the submit button, it will send it to the Airtable. This is like an ad that comes up, but after a little bit of time, it will go away, and a new form will then emerge. So how does it link to my database? Well, if I go into my database, and if I go onto the contact sheet right here, I have a couple different sheets, it will record the message, the input, through the different arrays. So this is like a multi-dimensional. It's sort of like a multi-dimensional array for my database. So what happens is whatever your first name is, it will put it into the first name column. This is a single text. These are single text. And so it's just a single line of text, dash, last name, email. This is an email. This is like an email one field. This is the phone number field, and then this is the message field. So the reason why I've done it like this is because I really wanted it to be easy for the store runners to understand what sort of messages they'll be given. So let's say somebody puts an input in and they have to find exactly what they have to organize things exactly how they want to, and give a response back to the customers in the most easiest way. This is a really easy way to do it. Before, they would do it by emails, and that can stack up a lot. So in this way, we actually can manage the amount of things that there are. And so after the store runners have already replied to the message, for example, they can select it and they can delete it. So then they can actually keep track of which ones they've actually, which tasks or messages they've already done and which ones they still have to do. So yes, in Airtable they don't have any styling as such, so I haven't really looked at styling, but yes. It's the same kind of idea for my sell item form. So this is a form that is going to be filled out when you want to sell an item yourself. So you put your item name, your first name and your last name, email, phone number, and item quantity, and then you submit it. This Airtable form actually links to the selling page. So what will happen is, depending on each record, like for when you are selling the item, because it's only looking for these particular fields, it will display in these particular places. So we've got the name, the phone number, and the email, and so there's also the quantity of the item, which will go here. The idea is that after the item is assessed, then the store runners can work with their customers or sellers, and then they can fill out more information on their database right here. So I did this like this because at the moment everything in the uniform shop is done manually, and I wanted to have a way that it could be tracked really easily. So in this case, after an item would be sold, they would be able to then call them or email them and contact them about their bank details and how much money they would receive as commission, and then they can just delete it off the database. So let's keep on going. So if I go into the home page, and if I press the Shop Now button, it will go to the Buy page. This is the Buy page. So at the moment, I am displaying 4 cards in a row. I used a different view before. So before I was actually using the gallery view, which allowed the user to filter through which ones they would need more, let's say a particular size of a product, or like a particular product name. So if it's like a blazer or if it's a shirt, they could filter through and they could sort them through as well. But what happened is when I was doing this, I couldn't actually code a button onto it to add it to the cart. So I scrapped the idea of displaying it in this way, and I changed the way that I'm displaying it into a view form using Vue JavaScript. So here I have, if we go onto my, I'll just quickly show what it looks like with forms. This is slightly disorganized, but when you have a form, because the form is directly embedded from the database, it just comes up like this. So it's like a Airtable embedded form. Where's it coming from? It's coming from this particular source. These are the design parts of it, and that's how I embedded the different forms into the website. But let's go back to the cards. So if I go into my Buy HTML, we start with item card. So item card links directly to my JavaScript. So on my JavaScript, I have I guess, code. And so what happens is that anything that is of the app, it will make a new view of, and anything that's inside the item card will be read by the JavaScript. So then what happens is here I have different types of arrays. So there's the items array, the cart array, and there's a selective item array. And it's all in the variable of app. So this is to just mount and load the different items from the database. This is the exact same thing where it's of how they're actually getting the information. So what happens here is this is linked, this is the app key for my specific database. So when I say the app, the app ID, so the app ID for my specific database is according to this database. So what happens is I wanted to make sure that the database itself was linked to the JavaScript, so I linked it through this is the app ID, and the app key is for the entire Airtable program. So that's what it's doing. So then there's another array, this items array, and it's getting all the information from the selling form with this app ID. So what it's doing is it's looking at the entire database, and they're looking at just the selling sheet because I wanted the content to come from the selling sheet itself. The next thing is this is just an authorization to make sure that there is a safe way to get that information. So it would only be unlocked if you have the app key, which I have here, which is unique to each Airtable account. So here I have just like some error control stuff. And so this is where the magic happens. If we go back to the buy page, like I said, it's all in the item card, and the item card is for the entire card. It's quite long. And so what we do is we start here. So to make the cards, what I've done is I put them in a card deck. So there's 4 in a row. As you can see here, they're 4 in a row. I wanted them to be like a deck of cards. And so this is just some styling done to make sure that the content itself displays in its cards properly. So then this is where the database starts to pull the information. So for the V4 item in items, what we're doing is we're looking at the different items in the items array that we see right here. So for each item, which let's say this entire card is 1 item, this one's 1 item, this one's 1 item, and this one's 1 item. So they're all different items. So what it's saying is the items in the items array, you should make a card with this kind of styling. And what I've done is I've made the entire card a button. Because what I wanted to do is that when you press the card, it would be a modal, and it will pop up with a modal with some more information. So that's what's happening here. So the data toggle is a module, and whatever the data target with the ID of more info modal form, whichever part that one is redirected in the HTML, that's where it will display again. So then we also have another function here, which is the v on click update selected item in item. So what that means is that whatever the selected item is, like if I selected to press this, it will only display that information about that particular card. It won't display, let's say if I pressed this card, it wouldn't start displaying the information about the summer kilt. So that's kind of what it does. So what's happening there is if I go back onto my JavaScript, it's linking it to this particular thing. So what happens is the item in items is related to the particular item that you press. So the particular one that you've selected to press is considered the item, if that makes sense. So then if I go back into my HTML, what's happening is this is where it starts pulling the information, like particular information about a product. So what I've got is I've got image source, item, item in fields, photo, 0 URL. Now that doesn't really make a lot of sense by itself, but how does that link to the database? Well, this is how it links to the database. So if I go back onto the database, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for any item that is in the different fields. So these are the fields in the database, the different fields, and it's looking for anything that is in the particular photo array, the multi-dimensional array. So this is the photo array. And now they're looking for the image that is in position 0. So position 0, surprisingly in like coding, it starts from 0 instead of 1. So this, in this case, is at position 0, and because it is a URL, I put down URL. So then what happens is I've got an alt tag for its name, so that if you hover over a particular product, it will come up with a little on hover. So like I'm hovering over the image of the jersey and it's coming up with the jersey alt tag. So that's really what that is. The same with the title, and it's got a class to keep it at the top of the card. The next part is saying what is displayed in the normal, the card body before it's become a modal. So I've got a class of a card title, so it's looking for anything that is an item in the field item. So how does that link to the database? Well, it's looking at the fields and it's looking at whatever is in this particular array that's called item. If we go back onto the next part, it's looking at the size. So item in field at size. So it's looking for the numeric input with the sizes. So it's looking for this one, these different sizes that there are. So we've got, it's looking at this particular field in the database. And then the price, it's the same kind of idea, that it's looking for the price bit in the database, which is right here. And so that's how that one works. Now, what happens is this is in the entire class of the card body, and the card itself will be around that card. Like, it's like the entire card is a button. So then if I actually press one of them, so you could see this is the title, this is the size, and this is the price being displayed, and that's the image. So let's say I press this one right here. So this is what comes up as the pop-up modal. So how does that work? Well, we've got our modal, and it's looking for anything that is in the item of item in items, which is the same as before. And so there is a different function here, which is saying if the item is the selective item, then display more. Since in the original version, it's displaying all 4 of the different items. These aren't selected yet, but when you select it itself, the modal will actually consider that the selected item and then pull up more information about that particular item. So then, so what is coming here? So we've got the class for the modal stuff, and then these stuff are just kind of other stuff, and then this ID right here relates to this data target part over here. So it's saying target that data and put it here. So yeah, here we've got some of the modal dialog, the modal content, which is like what all the stuff in the modal is, and modal header. So we start with the modal title. So the modal title is right here in like the title bit here, the modal header. So we've got the name jersey right here, and then we've got a close button, so you can close out of it if you want to. So then what happens, that's right here, the button is right here. That's for the end of the modal header. The next part of the modal is kind of the modal body, like I guess like the content, like the middle part of the content. So we start at exactly the same as the card. So it's just sourcing that particular through the fields, looking at the particular photo array, a multi-dimensional array, looking for the particular position of 0 in the array and displaying that image. Then we've got field items, field to say the name on the alt and the title, and then we've got the card image top, image modal, like that design bit. So now we get to the body bit, which is the H5. So here we've got the title. That's also an item field in item, so that's just relating to this part. The size relating to the next part, the quantity, the price, the description, and the available bit. So that's all displayed right here. So it's looking through there. How does that relate to the database? So it's just looking at the rest of the different fields. So the description, the availability, all these different fields will display. And then, at the very bottom of the modal, we have an Add to Cart button. So what happens if you press the Add to Cart button? So the Add to Cart button has a v on click function of Add to Cart item. So what does that do? So if we go to the Add to Cart button, if we go to the JavaScript, we have the Add to Cart function. So what will come up is a confirmation message saying, if you are sure that you want to purchase the item, then push the item in, then the cart array here will push the item that you selected into the cart. That's what it's saying. So if I do that right now, let's say right now, I'm going to push it into my cart. It's going to come up with the message, are you sure? Yeah, I want to add that to my cart. So that's kind of the add to cart function. So then if I go back to my code, I'm saying that a lot, but if we go back to my code, now what happens is we're going to look at going onto the cart icon. So going onto the cart icon, we've got it here, which is right here. So what will happen is we'll go back. So now it's kind of exactly the same as the modals before, except they're pulling the information from a different place. So here it's saying V for item in cart. So if there's any items in cart, then it's saying, oh, display that item in the cart page. So then it's got the modal header, all that stuff. And so then if, let's say we'll press it now, right, this is what it looks like at the moment. So what's happening right now is there is the title, there's the close button right here, and right here I have a table. Now, as more and more of the items are put into cart, the table will get longer and longer. So here I have a table that just displays the different fields of the particular item that's pushed to the cart. So we've got the item, the name of the item, the size of the item, the quantity of the item, and the price of the item. And then at the bottom, I have embedded Airtable form for buying the particular item. So this is the form right here. And so what will happen is when you purchase an item, you fill out the form. In the future, because I can't do financial stuff by myself in a secure way, a part where to confirm your to buy the product will be displayed. But this is one part of it that I wanted to talk about right now, which is when the purchase is confirmed, there's a button at the bottom that says, are you sure you want to purchase the item? And then an OK. So that means that you've actually purchased the item at the end. So that is kind of my basic functionality of my website. I hope you've enjoyed that section. I'm just going to talk about some of the the stuff that I did to get to this point. So one of the and the relevant implications. So let's start off with the relevant implications. So for the relevant implications, one of the biggest things I'm doing is I'm future-proofing. So by using a database that is easy to manage, I'm not hard coding anything really. All of the stuff can be managed by a person through the Airtable. So this will just make sure that the use of the website is done more effectively and easily. On my website, I'm not promoting anything with any bad behavior, and everything that I'm using is non-copyrighted and has consent from students. The image that I've actually used are people from my year group, so I did ask them for consent to use their faces on my website. So it is all ethical. And privacy. Now, I've not asked for any bank account details, and I am sure that it will be used by someone else in the future and stuff like that. When it comes to aesthetics and design, this version of my code looks a lot like my mock-up that I've done. For accessibility, at the moment I'm not on scalability. I'm not really looking at scalability, but I know in the future I will be going into that stuff. But I have used alt text in multiple places, and there for people of low vision, it is the colors I've used are very contrasting, and the font size is readable. Does it fit the end user? Yes, it does. I'm saying that for the fact that during my development, I did ask feedback from not only Rennie, who runs the school the school uniform pool, but I did ask other people about what they thought. So I asked students who would probably use the website and parents about what they thought. Many of them had very similar feedback, which meant that I knew that I was doing, that my work was consistent with what they thought. Usability and functionality. At the moment, it's all functioning as it should. In the future, I would like some more validation, possibly, on the Airtable, because I'm sure that if a mistake is made, such as in the phone number or in the email, it could be harder to contact. At the moment, Airtable doesn't have those functionalities, but in the future, if it comes to it, I would code validity, like pattern validity, just like I used in my other internals before. So how did I create this high quality outcome? So what I did is, for a very big chunk of it, for a very large chunk of my project, I used Trello, a project management tool. So what I did is I divided my things up into different columns, I guess, different sections. So through this, what I was able to do was I was able to break up my project in many different ways, and if I needed help, I did get the appropriate help I needed to, and I also was able to block a lot of ideas that didn't necessarily work with what I was coding, because there's always going to be mistakes when it comes to code, and there's always going to be something wrong. And so using Trello, I was able to manage my workflow, and I was able to set myself due dates on things to make sure that I was getting stuff done. I split them into different sprints. Some sprints I did much less work, or I guess more less coding. Like in this sprint 3, I didn't really do that much. But in a lot of other sprints, like sprint 1, sprint 2, and sprint 4, I've done a really large chunk of work. Also with my trialing and testing, as I can show you now, I was able to debug a lot using consoles and lots of error tools to understand what I was actually getting wrong. And so as I was developing, I did get to a place where I understood what was wrong, and I was able to screenshot and understand where I was going, how to improve my code, and if I got stuck, I did ask for help, I guess. So as I was developing, I did come to some places where I needed feedback, and I did get feedback that I needed to make large changes. And as I did this, I got to a place of um, I guess, improvement. And this improvement took me a long time, and it required a lot of different people's perspectives. I didn't try and limit my target audience to just Rennie, but I did ask parents and friends who would be the target audience about what they thought. So I had different ideas and perspectives of their technological abilities, and I got to see them actually test it through, and understood if they and got to see if they actually understood the different parts of my code. One of the biggest things, the biggest challenge for this one was I guess I've never really done anything this big, but there are things that I myself, as a young 16-year-old, can't do, which is some things I had to kind of think about for the future, such as I had to use, I couldn't understand how to do internet banking because I don't really legally have that, I don't legally have that kind of supervision or that permission to do that. And I also don't really have the ability to do some of the scaling. But I know that with the outcome that I've made at the moment, it functions how it's supposed to. It does exactly what it needs to, which is display the different products and give enough information to the users about what they need to do. So that's why I think I've made a high quality outcome, and I think I've addressed the different relevant implications that I indicated at the start. So thank you for watching this really long video, and thank you for all your help, and thank you for this year. I hope you have a fun one. Goodbye.